If you've ever looked at mechanical keyboards online, you may have noticed something strange. There's keyboards for under $50, keyboards in the $100 to $200 range, keyboards that cost even $1,000 or more. But what exactly are you paying for when the price doubles or triples? Today, we're going to answer two questions. What features should you really expect at each price range? And how much money should you spend? And why does that number make sense? And to make this practical, I'll give you real keyboard recommendations that you can buy right now at each price level. So if you were into keyboards around 2020 or before, mechanical keyboards were mostly amplified by enthusiasts. Boards were loud, rattly, hard to mod, and the best experiences required soldering irons, foam kits, and almost a degree in tinkering. In 2026 though, a lot of features that used to be custom only are now standard in mass-produced keyboards. Hot swappable switches, better dampening and acoustic optimization, wireless modes, user-friendly firmware. So today the real story isn't just cheap versus expensive keyboard, it's about how much quality you get for the money. Keyboards under $50 are generally going to be good for first-time setups or maybe something temporary. They're not amazing, but they'll absolutely get the job done. In this tier you can expect a basic plastic construction, fairly loud switches with a less refined sounds, minimal acoustics and basic stabilizers, and oftentimes they only come in wired options. That said, there's still definitely going to be an improvement over some cheap rubber dome membrane keyboard. For a recommendation, let's take a look at this Redragon K552 Kumara. It's a TKL, which means that it doesn't have the number pad on the right side of the keyboard, and it's a solid, durable, well-reviewed board for under $50. You'll notice it comes with a slew of what used to be premium features, like RGB lighting, anti-ghosting, a metal frame, and of course, mechanical switches. I'll list this keyboard and a couple of alternatives as well down in the description. So when you get into the $50 to $100 price range, this is when mechanical keyboards start to feel a lot more comfortable. You can expect hot swappable sockets, better tolerances. They'll often even come with Bluetooth or wireless features. My recommendation for this price range is going to be the Keychron C1 Pro 8K mechanical keyboard. And believe it or not, it's on the really low end of this price range. You'll notice here that you get double shot PBT keycaps, which lead to better durability and a really nice feel. Hot swappable switches, which means that you'll never need a soldering iron, even if you want to change all of the switches in your board. And look, this will come in a plastic body, but again, even at this price, that's going to be fairly typical for keyboards. So look, if I'm going to be completely honest, the difference between the $50 to $100 and the $0 to $50 tier has really been shrinking over the past few years. I mean, compare the features of the first keyboard that I recommended to this one. You could even argue for some people that they might prefer the first cheaper option. So in my completely honest opinion, if you're in this price range, then just go and look for keyboards that are either on the lower end or even dip below into that first category. Okay, so the $100 to $200 range. Here you're going to see a significant jump in value as compared to our previous category. So one of the first things that I would look out for is either a full metal frame or at least a partial metal frame. If you're not getting that and you're getting a full plastic body in this price range, probably not going to be worth it. And the reason why is that those metal frames are just going to change the acoustics and the feel of your keyboard so much, and it's going to feel so much more premium. You should also expect high quality keycaps, some stock installed foam and dampening, a hot swappable board, possibly a wireless keyboard, and some good stock stabilizers, and maybe even some lubed switches as well. It might be hard to find a board with all of those features combined, but you should be looking for a sizable majority in this price range. For example, the Newfie Halo 75 V2. This thing has a hybrid build, so it's half aluminum and half plastic. It has a gasket mount for improved sound and feel. The keycaps, the stabilizers, the stock sound, all of it is going to feel premium right out of the box without any work. We're now getting into the territory where you're going to see custom level quality from 2020 in boards that cost under $200. Especially coming from something like a membrane keyboard, this is where you can start to show your friends your real mechanical keyboard and have them be super impressed. Okay, so admittedly, the video gets a little bit harder from this point because the progression is no longer as linear. Because you might be saying, well, where do we even go from here? We have all of these premium features in boards that are under $200. Why would you spend any more? Well, let's take a specific example to explain. This is the Wooting 80HE, and its main feature is Hall effect switches. Without getting into all of the details, Hall effect switches are basically just a lot more responsive for something like competitive FPS games. So quite a few people will shell out a lot of extra cash for one of these premium features, but it's going to be really specific. On the other side of things, if you lean just towards productivity and you want the most satisfying typing experience, this is the price range where you can expect zero compromises. Take the mode Sonnet, for example. You're going to have premium build quality and you have customizability so that you can choose exactly the feel and the sound of your keyboard. I'm going to go out on a limb and say at this price range, you can really be firmly in the custom space in terms of mechanical keyboards. So all of those features that we listed in the previous price tier, you can choose every single one of them and customize them to your liking. So you can change out your switches, you can change out the dampening foam that you use, you can change out the material of the plate inside of your keyboard. So in my humble opinion, this is where keyboards start to become less about objective increases in value and far more subjective, offering customizability or specific gaming features that only certain consumers will really appreciate. Okay, so we're getting into serious territory here with $350 to $500 on a single accessory. And if you thought the last tier was pretty specific, this is where it starts to very much become subjective. Take this HHKB Professional Hybrid Type S keyboard, which is kind of a strange name, I guess. The headlining features are things like electrostatic capacitive switches or specifically designed ergonomic keycaps. And yeah, it is nice to have something like 4 devices you can connect over Bluetooth. But do you see what I'm saying here? The marketing is becoming a lot less about just basic typing functionality and much more about niche features that only a few consumers are going to appreciate. But of course, you will be getting all of the premium sound and build quality that you can expect from the previous one as well. Here's what I'll say. When you get into this territory, you have to know that you want these keyboards. You can't just be casually browsing around and find something and buy it off of impulse. That's not going to make that much sense. And finally, the absolute end game price tier, over $500. At this point, getting a keyboard becomes a lot less about money and often is way more about time. Take one of my favorite boards that I've never been able to get my hands on, the Mammoth 75. And you may be saying, wait a minute, Reed, that says $460. I thought this was a $500 plus price tier. Yeah, it's $460 without the keycaps and without the switches. So in total, it's going to be well over $500 at this point. But the thing is, I have never ever seen this thing actually in stock. And it's not like I check that often, but still. And the reason is because in this price tier, you're going to get smaller manufacturers who aren't necessarily trying to produce millions of units, but maybe just a few hundred at a time. So you're going to see limited availability, but in return, if you actually can get your hands on one of these, you'll get the most premium and luxury finishes, the finest craftsmanship, and complete customizability. Here's another example from a company called Keycult. And yeah, I think that company name should tell you everything you need to know about people who buy keyboards in this price range. Look, it's a beautiful board and the craftsmanship is unrivaled. But the reality is these are kind of special interest boards, not meant for general consumers. So anyone who's buying in this price range isn't really thinking about value whatsoever. So how much should you spend on a mechanical keyboard in 2026? Look, here's the honest truth. There are only 2 price brackets that make sense for the vast majority of people. The first are people who are watching this video and know very little about keyboards and just want something that works and that they can type on every day. You shouldn't spend more than $50 on a keyboard. The reality is, since 2020, mass-produced cheap keyboards have gotten so much better in quality. So even if you have a mechanical board from 5 or 6 years ago, whatever you purchase now is going to be a massive upgrade. You can use it for gaming, productivity, and everything else in between. And I'd say 70 to 80% of viewers of this video would be satisfied with a budget board in today's economy. And the other price range that makes sense for everyone else watching this video who wants something that feels great, refined, and future-proof without being too expensive, the other price bracket that makes sense is going to be the $100 to $200 price range. For that price, you get a keyboard that feels great, refined, and future-proof without any major compromises anywhere. You get previously custom-only luxury features, real quality, and you'll still get some customizability with boards in this range. If you're going to spend more than $200 $200 on a keyboard, keep in mind it just has to be for a very specific reason and not a value proposition. Whether that's a slight gaming edge, a boutique level craftsmanship, or some very niche features that are tailored to your specific workflow. But look, for typing comfort, everyday use, and value while still having a premium feel, $100 to $200 is going to be a perfect range for most people. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know what product that I should find the sweet spot on next in the comments down below.